If you've ever had a CARER'S allowance overpayment, you need to know about this. The Department for Work and Pensions is reassessing more than 200,000 historical CARER'S allowance overpayment debts. And for some carers, that could mean an old debt being reduced or cancelled, or even money being refunded. But there's another really important figure carers who are currently working need to know. From April 2026 this year, the carers allowance earnings limit is £204 per week after certain deductions. So today, I'm going to explain what's happening, why so many carers ended up with overpayments in the first place, and what you can do now to protect yourself. Welcome to the Care Frequency, making social care make sense. So let's clear up something important straight away. The DWP isn't suddenly investigating 200,000 cases of carers because it thinks they've done something wrong. This relates to historical carers allowance overpayments. The government commissioned an independent review after a serious concern were raised and about carers building up large debts after accidentally exceeding the earnings limit. DWP own analysis identified approximately 212,000 earnings-related debts involving around 185,000 debtors in the historical data being examined. Some people had more than one debt. The reassessment relates to carers allowance overpayments covering the period from the 10th of April 2015 to the 2nd of September 2025. And importantly, DWP now says that if you've been affected, you do not need to contact them to ask for your case to be reassessed. They will contact you if they need information or when they have a decision. So please be careful about anything online telling you that you need to urgently apply for this review. You don't. Now let's talk about the rule that working carers really need to understand. For the 2026 to 2027 financial year, carers allowance is £86.45 per week. To qualify, your earnings normally need to be £204 or less per week after tax, national insurance and certain allowable expenses. And this is where the carers allowance has historically caused so many problems. It has what's commonly described as the cliff edge. There isn't a sliding scale where your carers allowance simply reduces slightly as your earnings increase. If your calculated earnings exceed the limit and you aren't entitled for that period, you can lose entitlement to the whole carers allowance payment for that period. That's a really important distinction. And if that continues without being picked up on quickly, an overpayment can grow. Week after week, month after month, until suddenly you're looking at a debt that could potentially run into thousands of pounds. Here's another part that can cause confusion. When DWP talks about the earnings limit, it isn't necessarily just looking at the number you see at the top of your payslip. Your earnings are calculated after things including tax and national insurance. Certain expenses can also be deducted. For example, 50% of your pension contributions can potentially be treated as an expense. Certain work-related expenses can also count. And there's another really important one for carers. If you pay somebody to look after the disabled person you care for, or your children while you're working, some of those care costs can potentially be deducted from your earnings calculation. There are conditions attached to this, including limits on the amount of rules about who is providing the care. So don't automatically look at your gross salary and decide you're over the limit. You need to understand how DWP calculates your earnings. Now, this is where the story gets particularly frustrating. DWP receives earnings information from the HMRC through a system that can generate alerts when someone's earnings may have gone above the carer's allowance limit. But historically, DWP data shows that not all of those alerts were reviewed. For example, in 2018-19, approximately 126,000 carer's allowance earnings alerts were received, but only around 11,000 were reviewed. That's just 9%. Performance improved substantially in the later years, but the consequences of those historical problems could be enormous for individual carers. Someone could continue receiving their carer's allowance. The payments continued arriving. And meanwhile, an overpayment could potentially be building up in the background. DWP's independent review also found problems with information carers were given about how earnings were calculated and averaged. That's extremely important, because if somebody doesn't clearly understand how DWP calculates their earnings, it's much harder for them to know exactly when they're supposed to report that they've exceeded the limit. And I want to make something very clear here. An overpayment does not automatically mean somebody deliberately tried to claim money they weren't entitled to. The independent review identified serious problems with administration and communication of the system. So what could happen now? So what does the reassessment mean if you've previously had an overpayment? DWP says that carer's allowance overpayments from the 10th of April 2015 to the 2nd of September 2025 are being reassessed. If you're affected, one of the several things could potentially happen. Your debt could be reduced. It could potentially be cancelled. Or if you're already repaid money that the reassessment determines you shouldn't have had to repay, you may receive a refund. But this won't happen to every historical overpayment. It depends on the circumstances of the individual case and whether the reassessment changes the original decision. Most importantly, you do not need to contact DWP simply to get into the reassessment exercise. DWP says it will contact affected people. If you're currently claiming carer's allowance and you're also working, there are 3 things I'd strongly encourage you to do. Number 1, know the current earnings limit for 2026 to 2027. That's £204 per week after tax, national insurance and allowable expenses. And remember that the limit can change each financial year. Number 2, report relevant changes. Gov.uk specifically says you must report changes such as starting or leaving a job or starting to earn more than £204 per week. You can report a change through the Carer's Allowance online service or contact the Carer's Allowance unit. And personally, I'd keep evidence that you've done it. Save the confirmation, take a screenshot, make a note of the date, the time and the person you spoke to or who responded to you when you made the information online. Keep your own little paper trail. Number 3, keep your own records. Keep your pay slips, keep records of pension contributions, and if you're claiming allowable care costs or relevant work expenses, keep evidence of those as well. Future you may be extremely grateful that present you kept that folder. If you receive a carer's allowance overpayment decision, please don't ignore it. But equally, don't immediately assume that every calculation in the letter must be correct. Look at the period DWP says you were overpaid. Compare it to your payslips and your own records. Check where the relevant deductions and expenses have been taken into account. And if you disagree with a benefits decision, you can normally ask DWP to look at the decision again through what's called a mandatory reconsideration. There's normally a time limit, usually 1 month from the date of the decision, although late requests can sometimes be accepted if there's a good reason. And you don't necessarily have to work through all of this alone. Independent organisations such as Carers UK, Carers Trust and Citizens Advice may be able to help you understand your situation. There's something about this story that I think is really important. Carers already carry an enormous amount of responsibility. Many are trying to work at the same time. They're checking medication, going to appointments, shopping, cooking, helping somebody to wash or dress, and managing finances, sometimes getting up several times during the night. And then we're expected that same person to understand complicated benefit calculations as well. So when thousands of carers struggle with the same rule, perhaps the question shouldn't simply be, why didn't they understand it? We should ask, was the system understandable enough in the first place? And that's exactly why this historical review matters. So let's bring everything together. For 2026 to 2027, carer's allowance is £86.45 per week. The current earnings limit is £204 per week after tax, national insurance and allowable expenses. DWP is reassessing historical earnings related carer's allowance overpayments from the 10th of April 2015 to the 2nd of September 2025. If you're included, you don't need to apply for a reassessment. DWP will contact you, provided they have all your up-to-date details. And depending on the outcome, some affected carers could have debt reduced or cancelled, while others who have already paid could potentially receive a refund. If you're claiming now and you're working, know your earnings limit, report relevant changes and keep your evidence. If you know somebody who receives carer's allowance and works alongside their caring role, please share this video with them. They may be absolutely have no idea this reassessment is happening. And if you previously received an overpayment letter, I'd be interested to know about your experience in the comments below this video. But please don't share any personal financial information. Subscribe to the Care Frequency because we're going to continue taking subjects like benefits, care funding, carers' rights and social care and explaining them without all the jargon. And our next video is going to tackle another question that frightens an awful lot of families. If somebody needs to go into a care home, will they have to sell their house? We'll separate the myths from the rules actually say. Until then, please take care of yourself and the people you care about. And remember, the Care Frequency, making social care make sense.